What's up, everybody? Welcome. This is Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio, episode 810, with my guest today, Professor Dan Anderson. Super Dan.
And so when we talk about geeking, okay, that's my job. My job is to make it easier for you. And this is in all facets of the martial arts. So whether it's street, whether it's throwing, whether it's locking, whether it's stick work, whether it's double stick work, whether it's karate competition, whether it's free fighting, that's my give back. That is my give back.
Was this the mindset when you started writing books? Because I want to make sure we've got a little bit of time. I want to make sure we talk about your books because you've written more than a couple.
I just finished book number 37.
Right.
It's interesting because when I wrote the very first book, which is my flagship book, American Freestyle Karate: A Guide to Sparring, I actually started that out in 1974. And the reason was what you had on the market. You had books on basics. You had books on self-defense, and they were real basic type of things. You had historical books. You had nothing on free fighting. And so nobody had written something that I wanted to read. So I wrote it myself. I wrote the book I wanted to read. And I started in 74. I was this close to getting it published by Tuttle Publishing. And Tuttle, they were the peak in martial arts books at the time. Well, I went cheap on the photography, didn't want to spend the money, and they rejected it because of the photography. Really smart. So we fast forward to 1979. I'm in a tournament in LA, somewhere like that, LA, San Francisco, or whatever. And I'm talking to Paul Maslach, who's the editor of Inside Kung Fu, and I tell him about my story about the sparring book. And he looks at me, he goes, Dan, if you write it, I'll publish it. I said, are you sure? He says, yes, you write it and I will publish it. Boom, handshake. I spent the next nine months handwriting and then taking the handwritten notes over to the steno pool where I worked, where Kathy typed it out. After 3 rough drafts, we had the finished manual. Then I sat out very meticulously. I had a notepad on this technique, this move, then I'd have a number after it. And it would be, okay, this is going to take 5 pictures. Because one of the things I had hated was that you were here and then you were here.
Right.
How did you get
fill
there?
In the parts in the middle. And
where's the middle stuff? How do we get there?
Magic happened.
Yeah, exactly. So
you were
that's how I set up the book. And when we went down there, when we shot the photos, we did over 1,200 photos. The photographer, Ed Ikuda, said I was the most organized guy he had ever met. I figured I had one shot. That was it. And so I laid everything out in the book. It became the Bible of karate free fighting. There was actually required texts in a lot of different schools. And so that's where it started.